I'm the curriculum leader for science at St Bonaventure's Roman Catholic Secondary School. And what I'm going to do is just briefly take you through the format for your son's studies in Year 7 and 8 and then parts of Year 9 and our Key Stage 3 provision for our students here at St Bonaventure's. So at Key Stage 3, Year 7 and 8 have 3 one-hour lessons of science per week. And in the majority of cases, or in Year 7, all of your son will have all of these science lessons taught by one teacher. So our AQA GCSE specifications describe content and processes that students need to demonstrate competence at in terms of developing that understanding when they begin to study their GCSEs in Year 9, 10 and 11, or second half of Year 9. And we develop those skills in Year 7, 8 and 9 to help your son develop and progress as a scientist and think as a scientist. So your son would have already started studying chemistry fundamentals, the whole idea of atoms, chemical reactions, which underpin everything which occur in the universe. And throughout the course of the year, he's going to go on to study the following topics that you see there on the slide. So moving on to energy, cells, states of matter, photosynthesis, as we continue through the year. Some people who may have had older sons previously or older siblings previously who've gone through secondary school may be quite surprised to see that how science works, which is usually a unit that students start with in Year 7, is scheduled for later in the year. We believe at St Bonaventure that before we can perform and understand and be excellent in terms of our practical knowledge, that we've got to understand a lot of the science before, and that underpins a lot of the teaching in the science subject. So your son will be studying how science works and the practical application later on during the course of this year. Hopefully the situation and the circumstances are better come the summer of 2021, and hopefully your son is actually able to perform those practicals in the science labs in of themselves. We teach our students through the use of booklets. Each topic that your son will study, as highlighted there, comes with a booklet which includes core questions and a series of knowledge style questions and retrieval questions during the course of the topic. So to help your son study, they will be given, or they would have been given, a chemistry fundamentals booklet that you see here. And inside the front of that booklet, the first 2 pages are their core questions. So what you can do, this is a very useful way of helping your son recall and focus on his knowledge during the course of a topic, that you can quiz him on the questions that he has inside. You do not need to be an expert scientist, because both the question and the answer is there, and that can help your son in terms of his recall and his knowledge and what he's got to understand during the course of his units. What would be even better is if, as we progress through the years, that if you help your son and help quiz your son in terms of additional work that he can do on previous units to help him in terms of recall that knowledge of maybe topics that he studied in September or October later on during the year. So students are expected to bring this to every single lesson that they have with their science teacher, and it's used in the lesson rather than printing out loads of worksheets, and it can also be used as a homework task. So they may be set questions from the booklet as a homework task. What we also have in all of our Key Stage 3 topics is a literacy task. As scientists, we realise and understand that literacy is a huge barrier to learning potentially, and your son's reading age and his reading ability and his familiarity with lots of different words is really key to his success in science. So every single topic at Key Stage 3 has a literacy lesson in which we read through an article which is around an article which is based upon the topic that they're learning at a particular time. So for example, in their chemical fundamentals unit, they have an article based on endangered elements and elements that are running out. Because we want to improve not only the quality of their written communication, but also improve their vocabulary and the amount of words that they are exposed to, so that when they do sit their science exams or assessments in any subject really, that this helps them in terms of their ability to decipher what the question is stating. In terms of assessment at St Bonaventure's, so at the end of each topic, students will sit a topic assessment, and this is split into 3 differing core areas, which are their knowledge section, which is 15 questions from their core questions for that particular topic. So what's quite powerful, as I mentioned earlier, is that if you're going through the core questions with your son and as part of his revision and review for that topic, this will stand him in good stead for the for the assessment that he does at the end of the topic. As we progress through the year, those knowledge section questions will be made up not only of the topic they just studied, but other topics that, prior topics rather, that they studied during the course of the year. So if I just go back, if for example we take B1, sales and specialized sales, your son will have an assessment in late December, or before Christmas rather, or maybe early January in that topic. Your son will have questions or knowledge questions from C1 and P1 within his B1 test. There is then a multiple choice section and then an application section at the end. And recurring assessments, as it says there, will include questions from prior topics to reinforce that learning and get our Year 7s into the idea that learning is not, and topics are not just singular in science, they're all interlinked, and the information that you learn in your biology or chemistry topic is important to later topics. So there, that first image is an example of the knowledge section. You can see there's a fill in the gaps activity as well as just an answer they've got to state, then our multiple choice, and then our application section there at the end. And finally, supporting your son. There's lots of different ways in which you can support your son in their learning beyond even just their booklets that we're given. Where we understand that we're in a digital age now, and there's lots of differing websites that can prove helpful for your son in terms of his learning. So the first one's Educate. Your son would have been given an Educate login by his teacher in one of his first 4 or 5 lessons at the beginning of the year. And what we do here at St. Bonaventure is that we set homework tasks and we set revision tasks through Educate to help solidify knowledge and understanding not only in their current topic but in previous topics as well. So make sure that you're aware of what your son's Educate login is, and when you're checking Show My Homework Fit in case a teacher set an Educate quiz, then make sure that your son's logged in and done that piece of work. Educate isn't just a homework tool though. Students also have the ability to set themselves quizzes. So if they don't have science homework that particular week, or maybe you want them to do some additional science work, they can log into Educate and set themselves a quiz on the topic that they've been learning. There is Oak National Academy, which is the National Academy for England, where there's lessons which have been curated by lots of brilliant teachers up and down the country. And there's over 10,000 free science videos there's over 10,000 videos in terms of lessons in total. And there's a numerous amount of science videos covering all of the topics that we would teach at Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. There is K-Science, so if you want to really challenge your son and introduce him to some of the higher learning that we begin to study at GCSE, some of the early topics are covered on K-Science with lots of short, explicit, disciplinary videos on knowledge and then some questions to reinforce their learning. There's BBC Bite Size, of course, the old favourite, and then finally, all of your son's lessons will be placed on Google Classroom by their respective teacher. I just want to say a quick thank you. Any queries whatsoever, feel free to contact me, Mr. Adenican, so m.adenican@stbons.org, or Mrs. Hessian, who's our head of Key Stage 3 Science here at St. Bonaventure's, which is s.hessian@stbons.org. Thank you for your time and for listening.